The fans are out to get a ticket or two. From Walla Walla, Washington to Kalamazoo.
Lord, hallowed be thy name. May our feet be swift. May our bats be mighty. May our balls be plentiful.
It's me, Anthony. I'm here with Michelle. Say hi, Michelle.
Hi, guys.
Okay, that's an affectation. That's fine. Michelle, how have you been?
You know, I've been splendid.
I love that.
My Roth IRA is Rothing. Don't know what that means.
You don't know what Rothing means or what a Roth IRA is?
Oh, no, I know what a Roth IRA is.
I'll help you plan for retirement after this episode is finished recording. We'll
Yeah, absolutely.
get all those numbers down.
See how our funds.
Yeah. I just want to make sure that you're set for the rest of your life.
Guys, what other podcast co-host and friend would do this?
Most of them.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. Do you remember a little company called Disney?
Oh, I think so. Yeah,
It's the one with the mouse.
the mouse. Oh, yes.
So I didn't know if you remember a little movie that Disney put out called The $1 Million Arm,
The $1 Million.
or maybe it was just called $1 Million Arm. Do you know this movie? John Hamm was in it. Bill Paxton.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bill Paxton, my guy.
He was great in it. He was the only thing great in it. Have you seen this movie?
Like the first 2 minutes.
I watched it yesterday while prepping for this episode.
Oh, I should have done that too.
No.
No?
No, you shouldn't have. It's not good.
This speaks volumes to the quality of person he is. He endured this, so he walked so I could run.
This terrible love story between John Hamm and Lake Bell. It's a story about what we're going to be talking about today. But if you essentially took out all of the parts that weren't about white people, that's what the Disney movie is. It's pretty bad. They managed to make it a movie about the white guy.
Oh, of course,
Yeah.
of course. The whites.
Yeah, the whites and this weird Lake Bell love story that does not work at all. Anyway, moving on. 2008, 3 men set out to change baseball. That's such a grand opening. It's not exactly true. So J.B. Bernstein is a sports agent. He's looking for his next big client. He's worked with Emmett Smith. He worked with, I believe, Curtis Martin.
Oh, those young fellas.
Yeah. And he's looking at the baseball market. He's like, I think maybe I have a way to get in on that market. He's looking at India. He's got a business partner named Ash Vasudevan, who is Indian.
Who doesn't?
Who doesn't?
Right.
And Ash is a big cricket fan. And J.B. Bernstein is watching a cricket game with him. And he's like, well, wait a minute. These bowlers, their motion is kind of like a baseball pitcher. Maybe we can find one of them. It's a nation of 1 billion people. There's money to be made. We need baseball's Yao Ming. We need that person who opens up that, like a huge market like that. So he teams up with Ash, and they find Will Chang, who is an investor in the San Francisco Giants at the time, and they form the $1 Million Arm Contest. We're like, we're gonna go to India. We're gonna go from city to city, and then we're gonna have a big finals in Mumbai, and we're gonna look for someone who can play baseball. And they got over 30,000 entrants into the contest, almost none of whom could throw over 45 miles an hour.
45 miles an hour.
It's not very fast.
No. Well, at that point, enter Rinku Singh, 21, and Dinesh Patel, a whopping 20 years old.
Babies.
If you recall in our last episode, they're slightly older than Joe Nutsfall.
Yeah, true.
So his Singh's father was a truck driver, and he then became a sharecropper when he had to leave trucking because bad back. He had Singh had 9 siblings in a 1-bedroom house.
Jeez.
That's basically all of New York.
Yeah, and all of India, I think, or all of Mumbai at least. I know it's a very crowded area.
Well, so our other friend, Patel, he lived with his uncle who, like Singh's father, he good blue collar job, construction worker. Patel's father, and this was a common problem in that time. He couldn't afford to.
2008.
Oh well, in that area, yeah. It was a.
I just think it's funny to call it that time. Way back in 2008.
My day, before we had widely accessible high def. So he couldn't, his father couldn't raise all of his kids, couldn't afford it, so Patel went to live with his uncle. Well, both of these, so Singh and Patel, they left home and joined a state-run institute for track and field athletes. And so they both took to natural progression of events, javelin. Patel, he medals in field hockey as well. And, at that point, they're like, man, we are a month away from joining the army.
Which is the whole point of going to this thing. Like, getting a government job in India is like the goal for most people. Like, that is the job to have. So they actually literally went to this institute hoping to get into the army, which is bananas.
Because here people are like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
I was medically disqualified from service.
Yeah. I'm a conscientious objector to mayonnaise.
No, no, seriously. My dad took me, I think I had finished high school, or maybe it was about a month away. He took me to the naval recruiting. It was the naval recruiting and armed forces office. And boy, they did not want me in any branch.
Yeah, me neither. I tried.
They said, your brain, not going to work.
Yeah, no, I was just too fat.
Your lungs look too small. Honestly, respectfully, please get the fuck out.
Yeah, I was the opposite. I was one of those guys. They wanted really bad because they knew I could do it. And then recruiters would call me up and work out with me. Like, I worked out with this army recruiter for 3 months, and I wasn't fat. I just weighed more than they would accept. And it's funny because I was an athlete at the time. It was crazy. But anyway, moving on.
So their coach came to them one day. They said, I'm going to tell you about a contest.
Okay.
Now imagine this, if you will.
I'm at practice. My coach comes up to me. He's like, listen, kid, let me tell you about a contest. See?
So all you got to do here is throw this small white ball to win money on a reality show.
Done. I'm in.
Done.
Sign me up.
$100,000 to the contestant with the most strikes above 85 miles per hour, and a $1 million signing bonus to anyone who threw 3 additional strikes of at least 90 miles per hour.
Yeah, so they're looking not just solely for velocity, but you have to throw strikes as well. And they got, as I mentioned, over 30,000 entrants. Men crossed rivers, they walked, they biked, some of them barefoot. It's interesting. It's funny because the articles that I read sometimes will say that they did this to, quote unquote, fulfill a dream. But I can promise you not a single one of these 30,000 men grew up with the dream of playing professional baseball because they didn't know what the hell it was. This was not a sport in India. This is not a thing that people knew. That was the point of the contest, was to get people exposed to the idea of baseball. And it's interesting too because out of they thought that they would get a cricket bowler, so they get all these 30,000 people because they specifically go to India because they're like, oh, these cricket bowlers will probably be pretty good at baseball. And the 2 people who won were javelinists. They weren't cricket players at all.
No, they weren't.
At all. And which shouldn't be surprising because Roberto Clemente was also a javelinist. He was and he ended up becoming the first Puerto Rican member of the Hall of Fame, Baseball Hall of Fame. Maybe they should just literally Major League Baseball teams should just go recruit all of the like Olympic javelinists in every town, every country.
Javelin eye, actually.
Is that the plural of javelin?
Yes.
So sorry.
Listen,
so
we
sorry.
just so sorry.
So sorry.
We just we make each other better. That's all.
Yeah, I noticed that about us. So Singh did end up winning with an 89-mile-an-hour pitch. Patel came in second with an 87-mile-an-hour pitch. He earned $2,500. So from 100,000 to 2,500. And then as part of their prize, they earned a trip to Los Angeles for 6 months of training with Tom House, who, if you don't know Tom House, he's a legend. Former Major League pitcher. At that time, he was the pitching coach at USC.
Oh.
He's a big effing deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the idea was at the end of the 6 months, there would be a tryout for professional scouts. So Rinku Singh and Dinesh Patel get on an airplane, leaving everyone and everything they've ever known behind to go to Los Angeles, California, to live with a sport agent in the fast lifestyle of a professional agent. And work directly with the USC pitching coach in some of the finest facilities in America, the most national championships of any team in the history of college baseball. You could say that they were in for a culture shock.
Mm-hmm.
And we could talk about that a little bit on the other side of this break.
So.
Boom. I don't know if you remember the last time we spoke. So many hours ago, days ago, weeks ago, months ago, I don't remember. We were talking about the $1 Million Arm Contest. Rinku Singh and Dinesh Patel were on a plane to Los Angeles, California. How'd that go? Pretty good, I guess, right?
According to Bernstein, I don't know.
Let's go with Bernstein for now.
He said they gripped the ball wrong. They threw the ball wrong.
Of course.
Their entire body motion from head down to their toes, all wrong. All wrong. They couldn't pitch.
Sure.
They could not catch.
Sure.
They had no idea about the rules. And they could not speak English.
Seems like a problem.
So, like I said, it was just a brand new world to them. Brand new culture all around, surrounded by unfamiliar things. They were living in a rich agent's house.
With Lake Bell in the guest house.
Lake Bell, eating pizza, yum, 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 and banana pancakes.
Delicious.
Delicious. I'm allergic, so I'll take your word.
Is that true?
Mm-hmm.
To
Bananas.
what specifically?
Bananas.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Ooh.
So to, prevent injury, they didn't play catch for the first 4 weeks. They just focused on conditioning, building arm strength, kind of trying to build up those fundamentals.
Mm-hmm.
So they could be opposite of what Bernstein said, know how to grip the ball and do the things.
Smart.
Do the things. So House taught them pitching mechanics and how to throw a curveball. And they picked up English by watching, I'll let you guess.
Picked up English by watching the Daily News.
Close. I'll give you 2 more guesses.
Oh, okay. So I did the Daily News. Sports Center.
Close.
Okay. Daily News, Sports Center, Arliss on HBO. Do you remember Arliss on HBO? They should have watched Arliss. It's not.
They should have watched Arliss.
They should have watched Arliss. I think it was off the air by then, unfortunately.
No, they picked up English by watching Baseball Tonight.
Oh, that makes so much more
Yeah,
sense.
no.
Arliss was a good show, though. They should watch that on reruns if they can find it.
You should.
Boys,
Boys,
you know what to do.
Our definitely our top listeners.
Yeah, and then they eventually played actual games against high school and junior college athletes, hitters, while they learned how to throw changeups, while they continued to refine their breaking balls. By that time, they were consistently pitching in the high 80s, low 90s. So, per the agreement, Bernstein arranged the tryout in Arizona. And let me tell you, Lefty, that tryout
Tell
No,
me.
it did not go
The
well at
tryout?
all.
No?
No, at all. Did I mention that Rinku Singh, the guy who won, was a lefty? Did I mention that? I see the smile creeping across your face. Maybe that's why I left it out of the notes.
Mm.
This tryout was kind of a disaster.
Oh, you don't say?
Yeah, all these general managers and scouts came to watch them. Their control was bad. Their velocity was bad. It was kind of a disaster. And somehow they managed to get a couple of teams to agree to send someone to a second tryout at USC, where they're like, hey, let's let them throw in, not that these are familiar confines, because again, they've left their home country. They're halfway around the world in a culturally completely different place. Let's at least put them on a mound that they know. And 7 months after they came to America, unable to throw a baseball at all, Dinesh Patel and Rinku Singh both signed with the Pittsburgh Pirates for a total of $8,000.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Which, is not bad money in India. It's not good money in America. Patel did not last super long in professional baseball.
He did not. He was successful, but as you said, not lengthy. Very brief. 2009 season for the Pirates. And his record there, it was good, 1-0 record. And his ERA, I'll let you guess.
I can't possibly.
It's a 1.42 ERA. In his illustrious career, he allowed a whopping 2 runs on 6 hits and no walks in 6.1 innings. And he did hold batters to a relatively low batting average. It's a .192, and that was in 6 relief appearances. So in 2009, we're jumping forward a year. Transport yourself there. Things did not upwardly trend for him. No. It was straight downhill. And I don't know how you familiar are with math, but his 2010 season was less successful because 8.59 is a lot more than 1.42.
His ERA was 8.59.
Yeah, it jumped up to 8.59 in 7.1 innings over 9 games. So
not great.
At that point, the Pirates were like, you know what? We've done some questionable things over the course of our franchise existence, if you recall from one of our earlier episodes. And we got to let you go, kid. We're going to release you. It was December of 2010. Goodbye.
Just getting started.
Patel was like, all right then. I'm going to head on back to India and I'm going to finish school. So he took everything that his experience, his knowledge from his time over here, and he took that back to India so he could, and started teaching baseball in Delhi. And in 2011, he helped all of the village boys. He said, hey boys.
Hey boys.
Oh, hey. You know what we're going to do? We're going to have ourselves a little baseball party, and we're going to prep for the second season of the $1 Million Arm Talent Hunt for about 2 months. And you know what? Out of the kindness of my own heart, I'm not going to charge, with no charge.
What a mensch.
What a mensch. Participated at the National Athletics Championships in Kolkata in 2011, and you know what he did in 2012?
Watched Arliss.
I watched Arliss in the Federation Cup Athletics Championship in April of 2012.
And that was, I believe, as a javelinist. Singh, on the other hand, did have quite a bit more success. Singh played winter ball in Australia and the Dominican Republic. He was actually the first Indian named to the Australian Winter League All-Star team. In 2012, he made it to the Class A South Atlantic League with a 3.0 ERA, 65 strikeouts, and 72 innings for the West Virginia Power. And then he had some tendonitis developed in his pitching elbow that from the Australian League that then turned into a torn ligament, and he needed Tommy John surgery in 2013. And this started a bit of a chain reaction. After that, while rehabbing that injury, he broke his elbow, so he missed 2014. And then he had another elbow injury, which knocked out 2015. And then by the time he's back on the mound in July 2016, he's like frustrated. He's fatigued by the constant rehab. He made one appearance. He threw a scoreless inning, but he's like, no, I can't do this anymore. So nearly 7 years to the day of his professional debut, Rinku Singh's baseball career was over. So I think one thing that you've kind of hit on it when you said, that they were javelinists. One of them was playing field hockey. They went to, would you say Dinesh went to the National Athletics Championship? He went to the Federation Cup Athletics Championship. These guys are freak athletes. Like they show up, the son of a sharecropper and the son of the nephew of a construction worker show up with no previous training. They throw almost 90 miles an hour. These are freak athletes. And so Singh, he was like, listen, maybe I want to stay in America. Maybe I could train to be a football player. Maybe I can go into the UFC. But instead he went in a similar but different direction, staying in professional athletics. He decided to join WWE.
Oh, yes.
So he flies back to India to spend some time with family, and then he goes to Dubai, where WWE is having a tryout.
As one would.
Sure. Goes to this tryout in Dubai. They're like, hey, listen, you're great. We would like to bring you back to Orlando to train with NXT, who is the WWE's talent development division. And he entered the professional ranks of professional wrestling, and he is now a professional wrestler. He's on WWE Raw. He operates under the name Veer Mahan. And that to me is absolutely crazy. Like, I don't like to go from completely untrained, a javelin thrower who's completely untrained in baseball to win this contest, to come and play professionally for the Pittsburgh Pirates, to have some injuries in your elbow, wash out, go back to India, and then become a professional wrestler.
I mean, the work ethic alone is insane. Resilience. I mean,
it's crazy, and just freak out.
Perseverance. It's just the talent, the stats. I mean, when you look at that, and then you hear like a lot of the time scouts, like managers, coaches, they talk about intangibles, and these guys, like they had the intangibles. So I can see why that they got their start and their foundation in.
You'd probably call it 80 grade makeup for Rinku Singh. That's probably what we would call it. So listen, let's take a break. Let's come back. Let's talk about what happened after the contest. What do you say?
Aye, Captain.
Aye, Captain. All right. So we're back. Speaking of indefatigable work ethic, here we are, back at the podcast.
Back at him.
Despite everything that has been thrown at us since we took our last break, here we are, still standing. Well, we're sitting.
Still standing. Sit standing.
So the $1 Million Arm Contest was a success. The reality show was a success. And there was actually a season 2. And season 2 was won by Gaurav Nehra. But Gaurav Nehra didn't come to the United States to train with Tom House for 6 months. Instead, MLB had just opened an academy in Wuxi, China, and Nehra went there. But then before he was even finished, he was about halfway through the program, and he was offered a job with the Indian police force. And as we mentioned, if you get a government job in
Highly
India,
coveted, right?
yeah, if you get a government job in India, that's that. So he came home. That was it. That was the end of his career. There was a season 3, but I'm going to tell you, I had the hardest time. I could not find the winner. I could not find any evidence of a season 3 except a bunch of articles where Bernstein was like, hey, we're about to start season 3. So I don't know if it just didn't happen or if there was just no, it seems unlikely that something, I mean, India is a big country. It seems unlikely that it wouldn't have made it to the internet, but I don't know. They are bringing it back, actually. In 2021, MLB promised to bring back the $1 Million Arm Contest. So we may see another iteration of this very, very soon.
And I mean, in your opinion, is that I feel like it might be a good way for maybe undrafted or I mean, it might help some amateur players. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. It seems, well, so in addition to that, in 2019, MLB actually opened its first office in India. And then they also have what's called First Pitch, which is a grassroots program in 300 primary schools across New Delhi, Bangalore, and Mumbai. So they've really ramped up their efforts to find talent in India. The $1 Million Arm Contest specifically, if it's limited to India, and I don't know that the next iteration will be, it seems a little redundant at this point. If you're sort of scouring the country, you've found 3 people, one of whom had a pretty decent career, but never broke into the big leagues. You've got these 300 primary schools. You've got an office in India. At what point does the $1 Million Arm Contest just become redundant?
I feel
No.
like
What's that?
I feel like at this point it might be.
It might be, and I think what might be very interesting is if it was like maybe a worldwide contest, maybe open even to American players, because these days it's very difficult. You can't just be Rocky Perone and show up at a
Rocky
workout.
Perone.
Rocky Perone, and show up at a tryout. It's hard to get in front of a scout sometimes these days. So maybe you could do it in America, you could do it in Canada, you could do it in a lot of places. And I think as MLB outsources its scouting, especially, it makes more and more sense, I think, to do this in other areas. But I don't know. I don't know what their plan is.
Maybe in a future episode we can talk about how MLB, like you mentioned, MLB has outsourced a lot of their scouting.
Great. Happy to talk about that. Happy to talk shit about MLB for the rest of my days.
You guys can't see this, but he's sipping juice and he was waving it around like he had been he is drunk off the sauce.
My beet juice.
Yeah, his brown party liquor.
And then in 2014, Disney, the small little company we mentioned earlier,
You know, cute little film house.
put out a little movie starring a young up-and-coming actor named Jonathan Hamm. That name will never work. He'll never have a movie with that name.
Okay, listen. Maybe if he was a spokesperson for Boar's Head, am I right?
Yeah, you are right. Girl, get it, or buddig. But he was in it. Lake Bell was in it. You like Lake Bell? Are you a big Lake Bell fan?
I'm indifferent.
That's the correct response to Lake Bell, in my opinion.
She's not terrible, but I mean,
She's adequate. It starred, who else did it star? Bill Paxton played Tom House because
Paxi.
Paxi, baby. Yeah, and I don't think it did very well at all, this movie. I don't know if anyone saw it. I didn't see it till yesterday. It was not particularly good. It was, like I said, mostly about the white people.
Whites.
Perhaps because it was written and directed by white people.
The Caucasians, damn it.
Yeah. I also didn't mention Alan Arkin was in it. He played a scout that went to India with J.B. Bernstein.
Oh,
He
Alan
was
Arkin.
always delightful. He played the character he usually plays when you don't pay him enough money. Suraj Sharma played Rinku Singh. Madhur Mittal played Dinesh Patel. And it grossed $39.2 million, and here we are today.
Would you call the movie itself gross?
I would call the movie itself gross. You don't need to rush out and see this, everybody. It's fine. I believe they attached it theatrically with Saving Mr. Banks. So it's really just not a great stretch of time in the Disney canon. So, Bill Simmons was an executive producer. You can skip this one. Skip this one entirely. Everyone, just don't do it. How's that for an ending? You like that?
Fantastic.
I'm just gonna rant about everything I hate.
Listen, I feel like we work because I step out of the way and let you.
Yeah, I don't like being
full
negative,
speed ahead.
though. I like when you're negative. It's funny when you're negative. Oh, you know what?
Oh, you know what?
I actually want to talk about. Oh, please, you first.
Negative. So somebody that was on, speaking of negative, they were like, speaking of Disney, this lady on Twitter was like, I was walking around Disney Springs and me and my brother saw this guy walking around with an Astros jersey and we yelled, calling him cheater, where's the nearest trash can? And so I like tweeted at her, I was like, so from this, I'm gathering you thought this thought in your head. And your brain was like, yeah, I'm going to say this out loud and around other human beings.
In a place where people have families.
And this guy unsuspecting, and because
not hurting anybody.
5 years ago, a teen did something you didn't like, that you took that as, oh, I have license to be an asshole to a perfectly nice stranger who had nothing to do with what the team was doing on the field.
Yeah.
Ooh, why are you such a bitch?
And then you thought I'm gonna brag about this online.
Yeah.
For likes. That's the thing.
I really did something there.
Yeah, like just leave people alone. But I'm gonna tell you something. Although I said this movie was bad, I want to talk a little bit about. It did actually get nominated for some awards here. That may change your mind on how good this movie is.
Okay.
It was nominated for Choice Movie Drama in the Teen Choice Awards. And Jon Hamm was nominated for Choice Movie Actor Drama in the Teen Choice Awards. So
they're very prestigious. Would you say that the Teen Choice Awards or the MTV Movie Awards are more prestigious?
I would say without question, yes.
The best joke, the only good thing to come out of those, the MTV Movie Awards, is when they somehow talked Jason Sudeikis into hosting, and he said, all I want to know is how Human Centipede wasn't nominated for Best Kiss.
That's gross. I want to just say that Choice Movie Drama, it lost to The Fault in Our Stars, and Jon Hamm lost to Ansel Elgort for The Fault in Our Stars.
Those are two very good-looking young men. Mm.
Yeah.
God bless
Well,
them.
it's just one. Oh, you mean Jon Hamm and Ansel Elgort?
Yeah, both of those.
Yeah, we can talk. We don't need to talk about. There's some issues there. That's a whole other thing.
Okay, it sounds like some tea for after.
Yeah, maybe once we hit. I'm gonna stop recording. Hey, we'll see you next time, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.